For decades, the Dundas Center for the Performing Arts has stood as a beacon of creativity, culture, and community in the Bahamas. It's where our greatest actors have honed their craft, where our playwrights have brought Bahamian stories to life, and where generations of audiences have laughed, cried, and connected through the power of theater. But in recent years, this cultural landmark has faced some of its toughest challenges yet. About 2 weeks ago, the Dundas team sounded the alarm. They needed $400,000 to keep the doors open and begin the process of restoring this theater to its former glory. And earlier this week, in a landmark moment for the arts, the government answered that call, pledging $340,000 through a newly signed Memorandum of Understanding. Tonight we take a deep dive into this incredible development for the Orange economy and the exciting partnerships that could solidify the Dundas as a permanent home for Bahamian theater and creative expression. Joining us tonight are some of the passionate individuals working tirelessly to ensure this institution not only survives but thrives. You're watching On the Record. Our show begins on the other side of this break. Welcome back to On the Record. Our first guest tonight is Dr. Nicolette Bethel, chair of the Dundas board. She has been a driving force in preserving and promoting our nation's creative heritage. Dr. Bethel, welcome to the show. Always good to have you.
Thank you so much, Jerome.
Now, you know, I have certain shows that I tell them I don't need no script, I don't need no questions, I just can talk. And the Dundas, anything about the Dundas is one of those shows for me. I'm happy and energized to speak about this and where this institution finds itself, because it's been such a long time coming. But of course, it's always important to lay the foundation. So let's really talk about why the Dundas has become a cornerstone for not just Bahamian culture, Bahamian theater, but as we spoke about even before we came on the set, it is the cornerstone for so many things and so many people in this country because of what it represents.
So what we are is, the Dundas is a civic center, and we're 95 years old this year. This is 2025. It was established in 1930 in the wake of the 1929 hurricane in New Providence. And it was then called the Nassau Improvement Association. And it was there to help the over-the-hill communities recover from the hurricane by providing people with the opportunity to get employment, providing people with the opportunity to get high-paid employment, and to be able to rebuild their communities and so on. So for the first 40 years of its existence, that was technically what it is. We're still incorporated under the title, the Dundas Civic Center, because the person who had established that was the wife of the governor, Lady Dundas. And for 30 years it ran. It was basically the precursor to the Hotel Training College. It trained people to work as servants, but in high-end
hotels and
high-end. Because if I'm not mistaken, I may be mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, the guy who ended up working with the Duke of Windsor was trained in part at the Dundas. So he learned some of the skills that so impressed the Duke at the Dundas. So that was the kind of level of training that people were getting. But by the 1950s, people were not interested in just going into the hotels as maids and butlers and waiters and so on. People were looking at other things. So the need for the kinds of classes that the Dundas had been offering for the first generation died out. But by that time, we were in the building that we're in now on Mackey Street. That was acquired in 1940. And the association was formally incorporated in 1940 as the Dundas Civic Center. And it had twice as much land on Mackey Street at that time. And it had the building, but all this land. In 1954 or 56, somewhere around there, we sold off half of the land, the northern half, for the establishment of the Ranfurly Home for Children. But the Dundas still has a lot of property. And a building that was empty. So that was just taken over by a bunch of performing arts groups. And 20 years later, in 1970, there was a resolution taken by the board of directors to reformulate that for a center for the performing arts. And that's where we are today.
So, this institution, known as the Dundas Center for the Performing Arts, over the years, over my lifetime, over yours, has been the center of so many great performances, has given birth to so many actors and actresses, musicians, singers. It has been
media personalities,
yes,
lawyers, politicians.
Personal story. Personal
Lecturers.
story. The Dundas really changed my life. When I walked in that building and I was a part of and watched what was happening. Sammy Bethel was my teacher at St. Anne's and became my drama teacher. And that led to so many things. As I told you all jokingly, when I told my mother I wanted to go to Hollywood based on Sammy Bethel's advice, I can't repeat what she said. But anyway, needless to say, I ended up on a stage, which is television. But the point being that for so many Bahamians, it became a cultural center. It's where you went to get your theater. It's where you performed. It's where people got training. I want to talk about what it has become to so many Bahamians over the years.
Well, it is where we tell our stories, right? We are a country that is used to telling tales to tourists. And most of the time, whenever we talk about what's important to us, we always ask the question, well, what would the tourists think, right? The Dundas is for us. It is about us. It is for us. And stories and narratives about people are where we get our power from, where we get our healing, where we get our reason to go on living, and where we get our meaning. And so we tell our stories. And so that is what the Dundas became over time. It became the place where Bahamians went, not just to perform other people's stories, although we do that as well, but to create our own. And the greatest works of theater have come out of the Dundas. The greatest Bahamian works of theater have come almost exclusively out of the Dundas. Things like The Legend of Sammy Swain, You Can Lead a Horse to Water, Ian Strawn's works, No Seeds in Babylon, Fatal Passage, Gunboy's Rhapsody. These things, the Dundas was the crucible for all of these things that challenge us and make us think about who we are and look at where we are and see, are we in the right place? Do we have to do better? Without preaching, without rallying, it's speaking to people. It's people on stage speaking to people in the audience, and that is transformative.
It also raised a lot of social consciousness, and I go back to like James Catlin and Friends.
Yes.
You look at plays like Woman Take Two by Telsey and Turner, and they spoke to things in our society decades ago that are still relevant today. But they did it, and you were able to speak about those things on that stage, and people left there thinking about the themes and the messages.
Because they're watching people go through things.
Yeah.
If you think, we could keep going on. Michael Pintard's Woman Talk and Man Talk, right? Looking at the difference between men and women and their relationships and things like that. There's so much, and Michael's Still Standing, right? Which was, it was political in nature, not political on the narrow party politics, but political, asking, who are we? How did we get here? What should we be doing?
And holding a mirror up to us sometimes to look at ourselves.
That is right.
And it wasn't always pretty.
No, James was very good at pointing out it's not pretty. laughing at
Most
myself. You could go and
definitely
laugh,
laughing at
but
myself.
you would go walk away going, I got to do better.
Most definitely. So, over the years, the Dundas has, of course, as we said, been a place where people have come to get their theater and to get their performances. But during the COVID pandemic, something awful happened. And take us to sort of what happened to bring a lot of that to a screeching halt.
Well, okay, so for a period of time there, even before COVID, the Dundas was in a slump for a number of reasons. Part of them had to do with board decisions to say that they would. The Dundas is a community theater, but the way in which the theater was able to keep its doors open was by producing work. But there was a decision taken at the end of the 90s to stop producing work and to just be a rental facility. But this happened at the same time as churches were building their new auditoriums. There were so many different options out there. The
Movie
Dundas,
theaters, you had R&D cinemas
exactly,
and coming on
the
stream.
Dundas was not equipped to compete. So for about 14, 15 years, the Dundas was in a slump anyway. And then we moved in 2014, Ring Play Productions moved in to start managing the Dundas and start to produce again. We came in and we were like, we're producing. And we were on the up and we were just getting ready to start renovations and to put our plan in place because we have a plan for the whole property. COVID hit and we were a prohibited business for 18 months, which meant we could not open the doors of the Dundas. Even though, and this is a sore point with me, even though Fusion could open, but we could not. Live performances were prohibited for 18 months. And I don't really understand, I don't understand the rationale of that. I get the danger, and that's fine. But because of that, the theater was not in use. We had an ancient, by that time, air conditioning system, which had been working fine if it was being used every day. And it was out of use for 18 months. And when we turned it on again, they were like, hell no.
In practical sense, you can't run an AC unit if you're not bringing in money to pay the electricity bill.
No, you can't. Exactly. There's no way that you could. We couldn't run it. No, we had no money coming in. And so, so the ACs, which were put in 1978, 79, died.
Almost as old as I am.
In 2020. Exactly. Yes, almost as old.
Almost.
So yeah, they died, and you can't do anything in that space without the air conditioning. So we've been without our 330 seat theater. This is going to be the 5th year.
But this week, the Dundas board signed an MOU with the government, securing $340,000 in funding, and from your mouth to the and this is the first time.
It is the first time
I
the
heard
government.
You say it, and I shook my head and I said yes.
It is the first time the government has invested in.
And first of all, I want to applaud the government.
Absolutely, we have to applaud the government, and it's $340,000. This isn't,
and well overdue.
Yeah, it is. It is well overdue. There is a period. You have to be very careful when you're dealing with a political rulership and money that comes. That money does not necessarily come with strings attached, particularly if you are creating stories about ourselves. And so there was a period of time when it would not have been prudent for us to accept that kind of support. But this is a different kind of support. This is not a subvention it is an investment. And it's an investment in what the Dundas does, because what the Dundas does, the government's not doing. We are the training center. We are the place where people are cutting their teeth in theater. We're the place that's offering the exposure. And that has not had any taxpayers' investment in the 55 years that we've been doing that. This is the first taxpayers' investment in it, and it's going to capital development, which is, I think, appropriate. The building needs to be renovated. The air conditioning needs to be put in. We have a lot of capital development to go in there. When we're running, we can cover our operating costs, but the capital development and the maintenance and all of that is much more difficult to cover when you got to pay electricity bill and water bill. And
let's talk a little bit about what that capital development it is. Obviously, you're going to get a new AC.
Absolutely.
What else are you looking to do?
Okay, so the first thing is to put in a new AC, which is a substantial chunk of that. But we also have another theater. People who have been coming to the Dundas, all you can see from the road is the big theater.
Yeah.
But there's a little theater in the back.
I've been in there a couple of times.
The Philip A. Burrows Black Box.
Yes.
It has currently 70 seats. It can seat between 70 to 100 seats, depending on how comfortable you want to be. And that's what's been keeping the Dundas open. But we have been producing since COVID, since we were allowed back inside, since December 2021, we have been producing every single year. And in 2023, we did one play a month by a different Bahamian author for 13 months.
Wow.
The Year of Bahamian Theatre. And that was our contribution to the 50th anniversary of independence.
Yes, I do.
And we
remember
wanted
that,
to
yeah.
show the people who came that the Bahamian theatre tradition is robust enough for us to have 13 great
Yes.
plays, and we had to select them by different playwrights. So we did 16 different playwrights. We had 14 Bahamian directors. We had 13 plays.
So, do you have any timeline on when you will be reopened? And
No, we don't have.
Okay.
So the timeline. Okay, so as Philip said in the thing, the timeline really does depend on when we get the money. We're working on that now. We're working on getting the first installment from the government because it's not all going to come at once.
Sure.
So the first step is to get the air conditioning in, which involves some demolition. And we also have some serious upgrading to do to the Dundas, because if it's sitting vacant for 5 years, there's a lot of deterioration. We have to get it structurally looked at. We have to repair. And there's been hurricanes and things like that. Trees fell on the roof of the men's bathroom, so we have to repair that roof. You can see the sky through there. And ideally, and this is, the 340 is not going to stretch to this. It's also going to provide us with some much needed money that we can put in the black box, because right now the black box roof also needs to fix. People who've been in the black box during a rainstorm know that there are buckets and things on the stage that are not part of the set.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes people might open up an umbrella. But yeah, so we have some upgrading to do to the black box as well.
I know that, over the years you have relied obviously on the monies that you've been taking in from your productions, but also from fundraising and donors. And so is that going to continue as well? Is there an effort to raise?
Well, we had a very good year in 2023 in terms of fundraising. A lot of people, we were able to raise $70,000 on our own, but that was not enough to get us started with the main. We were able to do some upgrades, and we were able certainly to bring the black box up to code. But yeah, so the fundraising that is happening this year is of a remarkable, like our raffle is amazing.
Yes,
we have some
about 50 people done send it to me on WhatsApp.
Right? Yeah. And I have some books with me, Jerome, in case you want some. But yes, that is a real injection, and we're hearing interest from corporate Bahamas. So I think so. We would like to establish an ongoing revenue streams as we go forward, once we relaunch the main theater and we begin to develop the property as we would like to develop it.
Do others, and I always try to put myself in the shoes of other folks, do others have that same love and affinity and affection? Like anytime I hear Dundas, and it really brings something out in me. I want to help, I want to go, I want to support, I want to get there. Does that? Do you find that that's something that resonates through the community? And if so, why? Why is it that you think people may be drawn to what's happening?
Okay, so I think that you find the same kind of affinity in Freeport for the Regency Theatre.
Yes.
It's theaters. We are a dramatic group of people. And anybody who's had that experience...
My staff going in the back. Yeah, that's why he's behaved like this.
people want to express themselves. Like James Catlin used to say, if you just stand in the straw market and you just watch people having a conversation, it's drama. And that's what he used to... James had a genius that I don't think that I appreciated fully until I actually read his setting up. He had the genius of being able to write down and to be able to write exactly how people talk, which means that maybe sometimes his scenes don't go anywhere because he's writing like how people are actually talking. But it's fascinating because you're watching yourself. And I think that we underestimate that. We think that we're getting it from the screen, but you're not getting it from the screen. You're getting an element of it, but it's not the same. And this is something I always have to tell students who are taking theater for the first time, because most young people are not introduced, they're introduced to narrative through the screen. And I'm like, it's not the same. There's an energy, there's an exchange of energy, there is a communion, there is there's a feeling that when you're in a live theatrical performance as opposed to an entertainment thing, there is the opportunity for transformation, and it is an experience that many people can't duplicate. And I guess that must be what it is. And it's also ancient. It's the basis of ritual. We've been doing this since we've been human. Everybody does this in different forms. So I don't think it's something that can be explained or described. It has to be experienced. It's like trying to explain Junkanoo.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Right?
It's an experiential thing. You definitely, and you have to experience the Dundas, because one of the things that I enjoy about Bahamian theatre is the audience.
Absolutely. No.
Bahamians bring an element to the audience itself that's very interactive.
No, and when I'm directing, I'm telling people, look, the audience is another part of the play. You cannot shut them out. You can't have a conversation with the actor by turning your back to the audience and looking you don't look the actor in the eye. You're talking to the actor, but guess what? People can talk to each other without looking each other in the eye all the time. In fact, we do it much more than we think.
Yes.
So you can bring the audience into anything that you're doing, and the more you bring the audience in, the more that thing that we can't describe happens.
Sounds very much like television in some ways too. I just want to put that out there. Again, before we talk about sort of the way forward in many ways, there are many folks in this society who have gotten their start or graced the Dundas stage and have gone on to do so many great things. Yeah. And I want to talk about really that impact and that influence. There are so many people who have been able to get stage presence or been able to really find their confidence or do the things that make them great leaders or great in their specific roles.
Yeah, I mean, I are you asking me to list people?
No,
I don't know. No, because it's too many. But I think that what you would have found is that in the early years of the Dundas, a lot of the people who were on the Dundas stage became lawyers. And in fact, some of our great playwrights are also lawyers. Winston Saunders, Justice Jeannie Thompson. Or they were educators, like Telsey and Turner Rowe. These are all things, or they became, later on, they would become media personalities. Or politicians, or all of the above. But a lot of times when I talk to people, politicians and lawyers, they will say, I got my start on stage. If it wasn't at the Dundas, it was in a church performance,
on
right?
a school stage.
Right, or on a school stage. But if they had that experience of being on the Dundas stage, that bumped their confidence up even more, because when you go into that space, and it is made for theater. Many of the other theater spaces that exist in New Providence in particular are not designed by people who understand theater. They're designed by audiences, not by performers. And they lack a lot of critical little minor details. The Dundas has all of those details. They're not, they're middle of the 20th century in terms of age, but they're there. We have our lights. We have the lights. We don't need a sound system because the human voice can do it, right? We do, but we also have. Acoustics
are amazing, yeah.
Right? We also have the ability to provide sound, but you don't have to amplify the human voice in the Dundas. So people can speak to you without having it go through amplification and change, because I don't think we realize, living in a world of amplified sound, what that does to an audience, right? I was fortunate enough to be in a lecture with a great Trinidadian artist who refused to ever speak into a microphone. He said, when I speak into the microphone, I lose you because you become lazy. Listening is an active thing. Listening, and when I speak into a microphone, I'm pushing you back. You don't have to do anything to hear me. But theater is so interactive because we have to listen, and we all listen together, and we lean forward. And if theater is on, we all laugh at the same time, we all gasp at the same time, we all duck at the same time, right? We all jump at the same time. And that is a communion that is something that is very hard to replicate in other kinds of storytelling.
You are so right. You speak about these things, and there, we all remember our first appearance in a school play. We all remember our lines, what it was like, and I think the Dundas represents that, for us in so many ways. Very quickly, the government has announced plans for the Creative Performing Arts School at a National Performing Arts Center. How do you see this fitting into what the Dundas is doing in the broader vision for our country?
Well, first of all, it is so long overdue. You realize that most people, this is one of the things that I eventually made me not be director of culture anymore, because there's so much talent in this country, in every corner of the Bahamas. New Providence does not even know what's out there. When we used to do the National Arts Festival, people in New Providence, it's just a lot more people, so the chances of people winning their classes was higher. But the quality that you see in Crooked Island, in Acklands, in Ragged Island, in Grand Bahama, in Abaco, in Eleuthera, in Exuma, New Providence
is a joke. I got you.
Right? The talent is there, but there is no channel for that talent, and people are forced to go into careers that just are not fulfilling.
You have to survive.
Are killing you. Yeah. You have to survive. And theater is a business. It can be a business. The performing arts is a marketable skill, as people in the media know, right? It is a marketable skill. It's just something that we have not recognized. So by establishing a school for the performing arts, we're finally providing people with the beginnings of that avenue to get into that part of the economy.
And it happens on, you heard about Juilliard and Duke Ellington schools, and these are where the great artists go to be formally trained. And like you said, they go on to make a living in the performing arts and to do so many other things.
So to this point in time, the Dundas has actually been filling that gap, right? We've been, basically one of the things that we do in Shakespeare in Paradise, we do training by doing. Like, we're not giving classes, but if you come in and you get in one of our productions, you learn on your feet on the job. And so Shakespeare in Paradise has been actively trying to develop. Shakespeare in Paradise is one of the resident companies in the Dundas, has been actually actively trying to develop the next generations of not just actors, but of writers and directors and producers, and the people who are going to carry this thing on and make sure that the Bahamian theater continues to grow. But CAPAS is going to provide the ability for people to get certified in that, to be able to go and say, instead of saying, I just did this on the Dundas, that's on your resume, you're going to have a piece of paper, you're going to have a training, you can have, that's something that is marketable, that you can get paid for. So that's amazing. It means that the Dundas will be able to focus more on the actual development of Bahamian work and theater. Fantastic. And put people to work. And I'm hoping that we will be able to make another announcement. We have not been idle over the last few years. We've been applying for grants all over the place, and we applied for a grant. The Dundas applied for a grant to professionalize the theater industry, which is being considered favorably, and I'm hoping that we will be able to make an announcement soon.
Hopefully we'll hear that news very soon. We're out of time in our segment. Nico, I just want to thank you for coming, first of all, for keeping this alive. I know it's not easy. I know the burden is heavy. People don't always see the vision and don't always appreciate it. So thank you for what you've done, thank you to your family over the years for continuing to do this. And it's because of you and others like you that people like me and others like me are able to do what we do in so many different ways. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, as we go to the break, this is an ode to my late French teacher, Jane Poveromo, who was also a staple at the Dundas. She'd be very proud, as I say, au contraire to popular belief, the Dundas is not closed. When we come back, hear about the Black Box Theater and its activities. This is On the Record, as you can tell. I'm all into it. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to On the Record. Joining us now are Nadine Thomas-Brown. She's the lead organizer for the Black Box Theatre, along with Crystal Darling, lead communications officer, also for the Black Box Theatre. These two have been instrumental in keeping theatre alive through their creative programming and community engagement. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Now, first of all, whenever media people in the house, we have a different kind of conversation. So these are my media colleagues.
Yeah.
So good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Ladies, I want to talk, though, about the importance of the Black Box Theatre. In these years that the Dundas has been closed, or not closed, just not open. I mean, they ain't closed down.
No.
But not open for theatres. Black Box Theatre has been able to keep that going. What have you been able to do, and how have you been able to do it for all this time?
Well, the Black Box Theatre, it's a smaller version of the Dundas. And now that the Dundas is closed, it's the only theatre on the property that's open. So we've done plays, and currently we're doing an open mic, which is really to bring awareness to the plight of the Dundas. We've been able to do that effectively, and we love to thank the government, for
The support.
that has come in recently. So the Black Box is really a community space, and we invite the public to come in and to share in everything that we have to offer. For instance, we just finished Short Tales, Shakespeare in Paradise.
Shakespeare in Paradise in November.
Currently going into the ring play season with a few plays coming up.
Yeah.
And that's how we've been able to keep it open.
Now, for people who've never been in there, I've been in several times. Tell us about the Black Box and how is it different from what we may experience in the Dundas?
So the Black Box Theatre is a smaller theatre. It's not like the major theatre. It holds about, I think, a third of the people that the main Winston V. Saunders Theatre would hold. And it also is a more intimate space for plays. We've had Short Tales, which is a rather new element or feature of the Shakespeare in Paradise festival, where we have plays that are 10 minutes long, Bahamian written, virtually a whole Bahamian cast, and those are really right so close to the audience that you feel like you're
You literally can reach out and touch the actors.
And sometimes they touch you.
So they're very interactive.
I remember we did Hamlet last year, and one of the actors, she was, passing out these flowers, and she gave them to the people in the front row of the audience. So it is very intimate. It's a very intimate space.
Yes.
But as for the Black Box Theatre itself, that's a Philip Burrows Black Box Theatre. We manage the open mic nights and some fundraisers out of that right now. And we have had 3 so far, and it's
sold out.
Yeah, and it's been growing. We're
growing out of the box.
I want to hear about this open mic thing. Anytime I hear microphone now, I get excited. So tell me a little bit about how the open mic works and how you use it as a fundraiser.
Well, the open mic is actually my idea. It's an idea from back in the past when we used to do Express Yourself on Bay Street at the Hub. And so we had just finished Short Tales. We were directors. And then we had a conversation with the whole cast, everybody that was involved, and Nicolette, and we were just talking about how we think that we need to raise funds for the Dundas and bring some awareness somehow. So that idea came up, and we were able to gather 12 of
dedicated
volunteers.
Dedicated.
Yes, 12 dedicated volunteers to assist us with this. And it's also
worked.
It's also a community building initiative as well. So it's not just about fundraising and asking for donations. Then these are smaller donations, right? This is on a smaller scale than
every little bit helps.
Yes, and every little bit helps. But it's also about growing a community of like-minded people. So we've seen people come in to do play instruments, to do spoken words, to sing, and this is just basically them honing their skills. And we've also, to gather more attention, have a lot of artists who are friends of the community and local artists who are popular.
That we feature.
And that we feature. Like,
So friends of the community, like who?
Judah,
Okay.
the Lion. We've had Navarro. We've had who's the last person? Shadfer.
And
obviously we have we plan to continue this. So it's not just about bringing the community in. It's also featuring people who are actually doing it out there in the community. And it's not just music. It's not just. It's not just
spoken
word. It's everything.
And
Right.
people come out and they
providing
make
a
paintings.
space.
And
Yes.
we display
Yes.
paintings there for them.
So we're providing a space for the arts, really, because
Yeah.
you do have spaces like this around town, but nothing like what we're providing. We're actually providing the theater, a real theater with lighting and tech, so it gives them people who are new to performing and want to hone their craft. It's giving them the full experience with a ready-made audience.
Which is my question, like how does that benefit the artist? Because it's one thing to do an open mic in a restaurant.
That's not right.
But when you are in a theater,
Yes, you get
albeit
the
a
full
little
experience.
smaller than what than the Dundas, but when you're in a theater now, that's a completely different atmosphere and experience.
really
Why
is.
is that important for artists to get that?
It's important, and again, I could say that based on what we had in the past, because some of those people who came out of that open mic, like people like Willis and the Ellis, Judah and those, it gives you exposure. It helps you to build your fan base. It helps you to practice. It helps you to hone your craft, and expose other people who would not normally see that sort of thing to you.
And then the light is on you. Like the
Yes.
light, this is your time. This is your spotlight. This is your time
Not
to
bar
shine.
light, not
Not
restaurant light, not
people are not sitting
not
out
ambient
in the
light,
corner.
yeah.
People are not sitting in the corner
They're
talking to
watching
their
you.
friends.
Yeah.
You are the focus
Yes.
of that. You playing your instrument or giving your spoken word or doing your monologue.
Yeah.
That is the center of what everyone is looking at.
focused
You're
on
not
you.
Afterthought. We can go to the bar, get some drinks.
You want in between, making on the waitress to bring drinks.
And speaking of bars, after the show, people network. So that's the next thing. You're able to network with people that you wouldn't probably meet. People like Judah, a lot of people, the last time he performed, wanted to meet him. I don't know how those collaborations went.
Yeah.
And not only that, because we advertise in the media, you're able to also get your face out there. And so that's it. And so our hope for the open mic is for it to become even bigger. We're looking at the Apollo Theater. Is it in Harlem? Yeah, we wanted to expand to that sort of where people can cut their teeth and get your fame. That's it.
All right, so ladies, in this time we've seen the Black Box grow just because it has been that great outlet. People have gotten a lot of great performances. As I said, I've visited it a couple of times and taken in a lot of great productions there. So let's talk a little bit about the future. And what do you see it evolving in, particularly as the Dundas gets ready now to reopen its doors and start up its season again? What do you see? Where's the future for the Black Box?
Okay, so right now we're still in the middle of ring play season.
Yes.
So this is why our open mic night is taking a little break until March when we have our next show. But 12 Angry Jurors, directed by Philip Burrows, is going to be the next play that is there. And
I'm
tickets
coming to see
are
it,
now.
by the way.
Yes,
I'll be there.
please do.
Yes,
It's supposed to be exciting,
Yes.
suspenseful, and make you think. So, and no spoilers. But yeah, that is what we're looking at. The first show, which is on February 20th, Thursday, February 20th, is already sold out.
Yes.
So, but there are still more tickets there for the Friday and the Saturday. And then it runs into the next weekend, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, up until March 1st. So not...
Opportunities.
Yeah, not during
more
Monday,
opportunities.
Tuesday, and Wednesday, but each weekend from Thursday to Saturday up until March 1st. And it's a great opportunity to go and experience theater, experience culture, experience Bahamians being very creative.
Yes.
Like It's like none other. People, when they think about, oh, we need to go out, we need to spend time, we need to hang out.
Go to the theater.
It is so
Go to
fun.
the theater. I am with you 150%.
And
yes.
listen, you will have fun. Even if you go alone, the people in the audience will be your friends by the end of the night.
By the end of the show,
By
the
end
people
of
in your
the
row
night.
are your friends.
Yes, especially
Most
with
definitely.
very dynamic plays like this one, which
Yeah.
we're definitely going to see it.
Yes, for
And it
sure.
will be our first time. But yeah, and these are supporting our art, our artists, our colleagues, and also there's also been a call for Shakespeare in Paradise writers.
Yes.
So that call is out now. You can contact the Dundas if you want to submit a short play. So it's a short 10-minute play that you can submit, and it may be selected to be one of the plays in this year's Shakespeare in Paradise Festival, which is in
Short
October.
I think I need to
Tales.
get writing about the day in
Yeah.
the life of a newsman.
Yes, we'd love to see
Plenty
it.
drama.
We would love to see it. Everyone is welcome to submit
most
their
definitely.
plays. So
So-
we're really encouraging those things.
Nadine, I know that you know, throughout your career and your work, you've always been pushing the arts.
Yes.
And pushing platforms and exposure.
Yes.
Have you seen the industry really grow? Have you seen new opportunities?
I really have.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was just one little open
Now
mic.
hold on, don't say back. Because then you can make me seem old.
It
I
was
remember
not
when
long
this
ago.
started. Yeah.
It was not long ago, but for sure, because back then we were fighting for corporate sponsorships.
And just recognition.
Yeah, and so now you have a lot of people being sponsored by corporates, and the younger people are actually seeing the merits in the arts. You see that on social media. People are actually going to local shows and supporting the artists. And back then, the thought was that, you know, Bahamians can't put out this and they can't do that. And so all the people who came from then and were able to continue on, people like Renee Caesar and everybody else who's come after. For sure, we're seeing a different, we're in different times. And with the government's help and private sector, for sure, I'm sure we're going to see much more growth.
And how does this bode really for the orange economy? You know, that's the thing that we're all talking about. How do we take our gifts and our talent and make them pay? Because, you know, like so many of us, you have a dream as a kid or an adolescent. You want to do the thing you love, and your parents like, you better go find a real job.
Correct. But see, so
value.
yes, and that's the beauty in it too. So another thing that this has, this whole movement, the Save the Dundas movement, is connecting so many people. We've seen now a whole new generation of people coming to the Dundas.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
a lot
the
of people
point.
had this concept or this notion that, oh, the Dundas is for old people. You know, it's not. That's not. That's not my crowd. That's not my crew.
Yeah.
But you've seen so many new people, and I'm talking from the plays, young people from the plays to the open mic nights to the other
socioeconomic
fundraisers.
background as well, because theater
Exactly.
was at one time thought to be only for the affluent or the rich or the
It
stooge.
transcends.
It's for everybody.
It transcends. It's from people every color,
And
every background, every class.
And it tells your story. That's the whole purpose of it. You know, you're Bahamian. You're telling the stories that are happening to you, and it helps. It's like word of mouth. It's almost like when people used to do stories. Like you sit down on a fire. So if you go, you're able to encounter culture, which is what's happening. At the Dundas.
Especially during a time where, like you said, now people have kind of changed their perception of what Bahamians can do and local art. And now is the time. Like, we have everything in our hands, like at least everyday devices that can help us to hone our skills and
we see,
be better.
We see people, though I'm asking us, do we see people now able to really make a living or supplemental supplemental income, even if it's not your main income?
Yeah,
I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah, we are. This is where corporate is
grown.
necessary because you are able to fund the arts community by hiring them to do things like your ad. I know people think that the arts is just very cavalier, but if you look around you everywhere, there's art. Like look at the studio, the colors, the graphics, the commercials that's advertising. It's all in the arts, so it's beneficial to everyone. And so that's how corporate can actually help out.
How do you plan to have the two coexist once the Dundas, like I think I brought it up, once the Dundas...
You mean the two theaters?
The two theaters coexist.
They've coexisted in the past.
Okay.
We have had a greater capacity. Well, Nicolette would have talked about this a whole lot more. But in the past, when we did Shakespeare in Paradise festivals, this year we'll be having the 17th, by the way, Shakespeare in Paradise Festival. In the past, we operated out of the two theaters. And so that would bring in more money because you would have shows simultaneously running, right?
Yes.
And then you also had some students from the matinees coming in from the different schools, watching the plays, and the capacity for that after COVID and the AC and the main theater being down has really shrunk. It shrunk the ability to be able to make money and to keep everything sustainable. And so we're trying to grow that back.
And it's also, spaces to rent out, so it's more space to rent out as well.
And I guess that's the thing as well. So you don't have to be intimately involved. You can people can rent the space for their own productions.
Yes, they can. We've been encouraging people to do so as well. And like I said, we have the season going on now. The important thing is to make it seem like there's something always happening. People drive past and they're just like, oh, it's closed down. No, it's not closed down. It's open, and we're doing a lot, and we welcome the community to give donations. It doesn't have to be money. It could be a service. It could be like, oh, well, I have a roofing company, right? And I want to donate. I give you a discount on fixing the roof.
Or give you some supplies.
Supplies. So it could be
every little bit helps.
Yes. So those are the type of things we're looking for, as well as people supporting us in different type of ways.
So I was about to say, y'all have a shameless plug. Y'all have a raffle going as well.
We have
tell
a
us a little
raffle
bit about
coming up. So we have our Mardi Gras raffle for the Save the Dundas campaign. And it's one of the fundraisers alongside the open mic nights that we have. And we have up to 20 prizes.
Wow.
And the drawing will be held at 10 p.m. on March 4th at our Mardi Gras event at the Balmoral Club.
Oh.
Yes, fancy. So it's $50 for the book, and it's $5 for a ticket.
Okay.
And there are really, really nice prizes in here. Do you want me to go there? I could just list a few.
Give me the top prize. That's
so the prizes are not listed in any order of significance.
So what do you think I would like on there? If I was going knowing that you know me, what do you think I could like?
We have a couple of trips there.
Yeah,
there you go. All right. Let me sign me up. There you go.
Okay. We have dinner for 4 at the Balmoral Club. And $300. You have
where can
3-day, 2-night stay at Eva's Cottage in Exuma.
Now you talking.
Okay.
Now we talking.
Some really good prizes.
A day pass for 6 at the Tiki Bikini Hut, including beach chairs and a New England and Canada cruise for 2.
Hello. All right. Let me sign me up.
$1,000 Bank of the Bahamas gift card, and we have a lot of gift cards on this too.
So we're encouraging you to buy 2 books.
Yeah,
so
buy 2 books, man.
It increases the possibility of you winning one of these wonderful
books. And you can get these books at the Dundas. So you can call the Dundas to see how you can get a book or what have you.
Or can we find you guys online?
Yes.
So find us online, shoot us a message, and figure out how you can get your raffle tickets to help us to support the Dundas Theater.
So as we get to now, we put in the raffle
plugs.
Books are available, and just I've had excellent luck with raffle books. I sold my sister a winning raffle book for the church.
Oh, wow.
Raffle.
Then that
So,
means you need to buy
maybe
buy 3.
It's got to be my time. It's got to be my time. All right. Finally, though, folks who are watching this tonight who want to get involved, whether you want to get on stage or you want to volunteer or you want to be a donor, how do you go about doing that? Watching and saying, I really want to help. I want to be involved. At what level? How what can folks do to get
in terms of the black box? We send out stuff online when we're about to
all the time.
have the show.
We have our
For
flyers
you to
going
sign
out.
up.
Casting
And then we
call.
have,
Right.
and then we have so we send out our flyers of the show where we promote the featured artist of the night in the caption.
So this is,
And-
I can find you guys on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook and
And
Instagram.
Instagram mostly.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then you can
Only
also
old
email.
people be on Facebook, so the always gets
And you
Instagram.
can email us as well
Okay.
if that's better, and you can let us know that you're interested.
Yeah.
And you can sign up in the caption. There's a link to sign up.
Okay.
And on Instagram, there's a link in the bio to
Yeah.
sign up.
Or just hit us up on any of those.
Yes, and then we do
direct
have a
messaging.
small space. If you come early at the door, there's a small space for you to sign up in person.
Right.
If you
Okay.
like, oh, I wasn't sure and I was a little nervous, and
And-
we'll talk you up and,
We'll talk
and get
you
you
up.
on the
And
stage.
for things at the Dundas, you could just call the Dundas itself.
Yes,
to
yes. For any
get
type of
the book.
donations or
Yes.
any type of interest that you want to help the Dundas or support in any way, just give the Dundas a call or go on the website. We actually have a direct, what do you call it? Funding, like direct donation
Right.
page that you can just go and on the Dundas website.
And what
you
about
just-
volunteer? Sorry, you.
Right. So I was saying too, even if you're not sponsoring or want to volunteer, you can just share our literature. Share our flyers.
Yeah.
Word
Social
of mouth,
media.
so that you know that we're open. We're
Or
not
bring your
closed.
friends or say,
Bring your
hey,
friends.
let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things are happening.
No,
and
I'm
we're
not. I'm
closed.
kind of the shy type, so I
Yeah.
want to be.
So
able
reach
to
out to us.
volunteer.
Shoot us a
Yeah.
message on Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
We're always
We're
very
very
attentive.
responsive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, definitely you're responsive, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having
to
us.
talk to us today. I think what you're doing is so impactful and needed and necessary for our community. I mean, the growth and development of the arts really impacts all of us, directly and indirectly. I say to people all the time, it is because of my background in theater and in the arts
Yeah.
that I am where I am today.
Yeah.
And I would not be the person I am if it were not for some influences and some opportunities.
Yeah.
And so I'm also partial to that. I'm so happy that we have more local theater
Yes.
coming. Because I'm one of these people, I'll even travel to go watch a show if I have to. But it's good to know that I can stay home and
Yes.
catch some
Excellent
really good
actors.
quality theater. And I have to tell you, it's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Very good.
I've
stuff.
been, I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've
Yes.
engaged. And so it is really good stuff. So thank you for the great work
Yes.
that you're doing.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right, and hopefully we'll have you on again. Don't forget that those raffle tickets and books are on sale.
Yes.
Well, if I win, it's a thing. Ladies, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you
so
too.
much for having us.
All right. Well, the theater is more than just entertainment. It is storytelling, identity, and nation building. The Dundas has given so much to the Bahamas, and now it is our turn to give back. Whether by attending a show, donating, or simply spreading the word, every effort counts towards securing a future where Bahamian theater continues to flourish. Thank you to our guests for sharing their insights and passion, and to you, our viewers, for joining this important conversation. We'll continue to follow the Dundas' journey and the Black Box. For now, let's remember, the arts don't just survive on support, they thrive on it. Until next time, I'm Jerome Sawyer. This has been On the Record. Good night, everyone.